The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.
This meeting of the Starkville Board of Alderman will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have before you a copy of the modified written agenda. Do I have any proposed revisions? Alderman Parker.
Mayor, I propose that we put under Mayor's business item B for the interim flag for use at MML on consent.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Parker is to place item 9B on page 2, the consideration of the approval of an interim flag to be used at the MML conference not to exceed $200 on the consent agenda. Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Parker, do you have further proposed revisions?
On page 4, under building codes and planning, items 1 and 2 on consent, with the conditions as indicated by P&Z.
All right, hold on 1 second.
If there's no objections.
That's on page 4, items 11. Let's take them one at a time. Item 11B1, which is the request for approval of P&Z item number RZ 1101, a request by Ms. Emma Belk for approval of a zoning change from R1 to R6 with the recommendations as provided by staff on the consent agenda. Is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Do you have further proposed revisions?
Item 2 under that same category.
All right, so the proposed revision is to place item 11B2, request for consideration to approve P&Z item number CU 11-04, a request by Tabor Properties to allow multifamily residential condominium use in a C2 general business zoning district located at 701 Spring Street in Ward 2 with recommendations as provided by staff on the consent agenda. Is that your proposed revision? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note that matter has been placed on the consent agenda.
That's all.
Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna have to look at my initial agenda. If I deviate, that'll be fine. Let me get my initial agenda. Let's go to my initial agenda. Roman numeral 4, approval of Board of Alderman minutes. I want to put A and B on the consent agenda.
All right, the proposed revision, let's take them one at a time.
Well, let's do it. We'll do it one at a time. Item A. What about that one?
To place item A, the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville held on May 3rd, 2011 on the consent agenda. Is that your proposed
That
revision?
is, yes, sir.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins?
Item Roman numeral 4B.
All right, the proposed revision is to place item 4B, the approval of the minutes of the recess meeting of the Board of Aldermen from May 17, 2011 on the consent agenda. Is that your proposed revision?
It is, yes, sir.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, item 4B has been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed revision?
I have many more. Roman numeral 10, C, I want that modified for in-kind services in the amount of $1,088, no funding, with a request for in-kind services in the amount of $1,088. Those are requests for cash contribution 25. That's the consent agenda.
All right, the proposed revision is to revise item 10C to read the consideration of the approval of the request for a special event permit for a Starkville Community Day to be held at J.L. King Park on June 18, 2011 by the Northeast Youth Football Association with a request for in-kind services in the amount of $1,088, and place that item on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins,
Yes,
is
sir.
that your proposed
That's
revision?
it. Yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter has been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed revision?
Item E.
All right, item E. Do you wish to place it on the consent agenda?
E and F, we just do one at a time.
All right, the proposed revision is to place item E, the approval of the grant and authorization for the mayor to sign the grant agreement number 467Q612A, effective date June 15, 2011, with Mississippi Department of Human Services in the amount of $197,911 on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, that's your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note that that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins?
Item F.
Alderman Perkins has proposed revising the agenda to place item 10F on page 3, the approval of the contract with the Afro-American Cultural Society of the Golden Triangle DBA Brick Fire Project for the contract administration of the MDHS grant number 467Q612A in the amount of $197,911 on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Any objection?
I don't have an objection, and I should have made this comment when Alderman Perkins was placing item E on the consent agenda. For those that looked at your board packets, there's a matching requirement for the Brick Fire grant, and I wanted to just be sure that everyone understood that Ms. Taylor is responsible for finding those matching funds and has traditionally done those through a couple of agencies outside the city of Starkville. We're not committing any city budget dollars at this point.
All right, so the proposed revision stands from Alderman Perkins.
Yes.
I'll now ask for objection. Is there any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, that matter has been placed on the consent agenda. Are there any further proposed revisions?
Page 5 from my initial agenda, personnel. Let's, one at a time. Item number 1, we'll go ahead and put it on the consent agenda. It'll be subject to the recommendations from the staff. It'll have the salaries as listed in the staff recommendation and the probationary period that's outlined in the handout from the staff. Item number 1. That's the
Okay.
firefighters.
The proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place item,
Personnel, the first item on the personnel request.
item 11I1. Is that right?
That's it.
Authorization to hire Andrew Demerit, Nathan Herndon, Alex Loomis, Kenneth Wilson, Jonathan Goodman, and Taurus Young to fill vacant positions as firefighters in the fire department with the specifications as stated in the packet on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there any objection?
And can we make that with an effective date of June 17th?
Yeah, that's fine. That's great. I'll take that amendment along with effective June 17th, Mr. Mayor, 2011.
All right. Alderman Perkins accepts Alderman Sistrunk's suggestion as a friendly amendment to his proposed revision, and that is, one more time for clarity, to place the item as previously read on the consent agenda, subject to the specifications as presented in the packet, taking effect on June 17, 2011. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
It is, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter, as stated, has been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins?
Mr. Mayor, request authorization to hire Shantae Wilson to fill the position of administrative assistant to the mayor and board of aldermen with the conditions, stipulations contained in the packet, and I'm open to any effective date. Madam Vice Mayor, do we need an effective date on that?
I'll defer to you on that one.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, any effective date on that?
What is the effective date stated in the packet? Is it, and that's the effective date that it needs to be?
Okay, well, we'll go with the recommendation in the packet.
Okay. Alderman Perkins has proposed revising the agenda to place item 11I2, the authorization of the hire of Shantae Wilson to fill the position of administrative assistant to the mayor and board of aldermen, subject to the specifications as presented in the packet on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed
Yes, sir,
revision?
Mr. Mayor.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins?
Mr. Mayor, item 3, request authorization to hire Mark Clay to fill the vacant position of lab technician in the wastewater division of public services with the recommendation condition stated in the recommend from the staff, along with the probationary period that's stated therein.
Alderman Perkins has proposed revising the agenda to move item 11I3, the authorization of the hire of Mark Clay to fill the vacant position of lab technician in the wastewater division of the Public Services Department, subject to the specifications as provided in the packet to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, that's your proposed revision.
It is, Mr. Mayor.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please make note of the change. Alderman Perkins?
Mr. Mayor, we move the placement, next item on the consent agenda, about the job description for the position of assistant planner and approve the advertise for the position.
All right, Alderman Perkins has proposed revising the agenda to place item 11I4, the approval of the job description for the position of assistant city planner and approval to advertise for the position on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins?
Mr. Mayor, last page under sanitation, request authorization to proceed with proposed organizational changes, promotions, job descriptions, and advertisement for the position presented in the personnel officer's memo and presentation placed on the consent agenda as outlined in the handout materials and documentation from the Director of Sanitation and Environmental Services.
All right, Alderman Perkins has proposed revising the agenda to place item 11L3, the authorization to proceed with the proposed organizational changes, promotions, job descriptions, and advertisement for the positions as presented in the personnel officer's memo and the presentation as presented in the packet on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
It is, Mr. Mayor.
Any objection? You
For public
object?
knowledge, will we still have a presentation by Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine with that then.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please make note that that matter has been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins?
I think that exhausts the agenda.
Think so? Do we have any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions to the agenda? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as revised would be in order.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Alderman Corey to approve of the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been seconded by Alderman Parker. Alderman Corey, you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes, and that will carry us to the consideration of the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any objections to the consent agenda as revised? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, the consent agenda as revised has been approved. And that will carry us to announcements and comments. And I have a couple of announcements. Thank you. First of all, the financial consultants that are going to be helping us prepare the capital improvement plan would like to come for an introductory meeting prior to our June 21st meeting. So we will hold a work session at 5 o'clock on June 21st. We'll proceed with our regular meeting at 5:30. They've told us all they need is 30 minutes. So we'll send an email and remind you, but please make note on your calendar that we'll start at 5 o'clock with a work session on June 21st.
Lasting how long?
It'll last 30 minutes, and then we'll start the board meeting at the regular time. All right, and I have one employee introduction tonight, Thomas Wade. Please join me in welcoming our newest employee in the wastewater division of public services, Thomas Ware. Thomas has joined us as an operator too. Thomas is retired from the Naval Reserve, having served for 20 years as a hull maintenance technician on ships and submarines. In this job, he did welding, sheet metal fabrication, and other maintenance duties. Thomas also worked for 20 years at Sara Lee Foods and then with Magnolia Seasonings in West Point. Thomas is very familiar with the city of Starkville, as his wife, Charlotte, has been a radio operator with the police department for almost 25 years. Thomas stated in his interview that he enjoys working with people and likes to have room to advance. Please join me in welcoming Thomas. And that exhausts my comments for the evening. We have one scheduled comment, and that is recognition of the Employee of the Month by Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the recognition. Let me make one other comment before I get to the Employee of the Month. I like to say that I was just recently apprised that a long-term city employee is going to be leaving us at the end of this month. And this employee started about the same time that I did, and her service for the city briefly predates my time here, and this employee told me this the other day that she remembered my first day on the job. I would like for Mr. Griffith and Ms. Spruill to mention to our now administrative assistant in the building department, expressed to her that she has really done an exemplary job for the city of Starkville. She has been the go-to person. She has been the mover and shaker for that department. She possesses a wealth of knowledge. She has been a very great asset. I have really enjoyed working with her. I have seen Ms. McCann work under different department heads, Mr. Larry Bell, Mr. Bill Webb, Mr. Griffith, and she has always had a very pleasing personality, and we are really going to miss her. And she has really shown a lot of dedication in her job, and so I would like for you all to personally tell her, and I just want to say that because when she told me that, that took me back in time, that allowed me to reflect on some memories on my service on the board, and so I just want to say that she'll be truly missed, Mr. Griffin. Be sure to share my public comments to Ms. Brewer with her, and she has done a job well done. So, Mr. Mayor, with that being said, let me move on to the next matter on the agenda. When I get to this, there's always a lot of thought and a lot of preparation that comes into this. So let me begin by saying to the Mayor, Board of Alderman, city employees, press, and to the public, it is indeed a great privilege, pleasure, moment, and honor for me to recognize and present the Employee of the Month for June 2011 for the city of Starkville, Mississippi. This is indeed a high moment for the city of Starkville. The Employee of the Month recognition and award by the city of Starkville is an extraordinary and mountaintop recognition and honor. The Employee of the Month is an individual who has impeccable qualities, attributes, and characteristics. The Employee of the Month is an individual who goes beyond the call of duty in performing his or her work. The Employee of the Month is an individual who has graciously and meticulously served with honor, dignity, and distinction, and this is a person who is worthy to be praised. The Employee of the Month is a respected individual who has worked and served faithfully, loyally, diligently, and untiringly. The City Employee for the month of June 2011 is a perfect choice. This employee has been a tremendous and a valuable asset to the great city of Starkville. This wonderful employee is very dependable, resourceful, and knowledgeable, and has an impeccable character and integrity. This employee is always very cordial and always helpful. The Employee of the Month for June 2011 is a very seasoned individual and has always shown great, sound, seasoned, and prudent leadership. The Employee of the Month for June 2011 has always performed his or her work in an exemplary manner and has always done everything that has been requested of him or her. This employee has been a great public servant and has always given the best of service and has always performed a job well done. This employee has made many contributions to the overall progress and welfare of our city. We are absolutely proud that this employee is a part of the city's workforce. We genuinely appreciate this employee for all of his or her dedicated and faithful service to the city. We sincerely, genuinely, and deeply appreciate and thank this employee for his or her perseverance, commitment, loyalty, dedication, and professionalism. Without any further ado, I'm going to take this moment to recognize, read, and present a plaque that I purchased to the Employee of the Month for June of 2011 for the city of Starkville. I'm going to recognize this employee and present this plaque to the employee. I'm going to read it. And I'm going to stand up here, and I'm asking the mayor to join me as we get ready to present this nice plaque to this employee who so richly deserves this recognition for the month of June of 2011 for our great city. And we take great pride, privilege, pleasure, and opportunity. And I'd like for the mayor and the board and the staff to join us in recognizing the Employee of the Month for June 2011, and it's none other than our Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Donna Lynn Spruill. And the plaque reads as follows: Ms. Donna Lynn Spruill, June 2011, Employee of the Month for the City of Starkville, Mississippi, presented by Roy Perkins Esquire, Alderman Ward 6, June 7, 2011. Congratulations. You're so welcome. Thank you.
I don't know, that's not good sometimes.
All right, do we have any further comments by the members of the board?
I got a few, Mr. Mayor. For such a short notice, I would like to commend you for coming out Saturday, and police department, sanitation department, fire department, and park and recreation for a short notice for the fun day that we had in the park on Saturday, which was turned out to be a real great day. And I'd just like to thank all y'all for your support that you've given us on that day. It was a beautiful day.
Well, and I'd like to thank you for continuing to put it together. Alderman Vaughn goes to a great deal of effort every year to organize an event in his ward that has proved to be a big success for 3 years now. Any further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments? Any further comments? All right, seeing none, we'll now move to citizen comments. Any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Alvin Turner, Ward 7. To the vice mayor, Senator Trump, and Alderman Vaughn.
Good evening, Alan.
We would like to thank Ms. Marquita and John and Mr. and Ms. Landfair for making our NACP a success. We thank you. And also Ms. Senator Trump for what she did as well to make our banquet a success. We thank you. Citizen comments. We have some concerns that are really frightening to us. One is we still waiting on the dangerous curve sign on Long Street. We're still waiting on the 9 feet clean sign that goes down Washington Street. Cars have to stop to let each other under that 9 feet clean. We hope that no one get hurt or broke up on Lafayette Street with the cars parked where they are. We hope that no one have to get hurt before something is done. We would like for our MDOT to look at the situation on the bypass, and since we have had 2 people get killed on the bypass, right after you pass the electric department, we would like for if you got any pool to have them look at that intersection before someone else come up there. And also we have a concern on Hill Road and 182. That also is a dangerous intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Do we have any further citizen comments?
bless. To the mayor, Board of Alderman, distinguished community attendees, and all the other concerned citizens of the city of Starkville. I, Rafiq Hamadullah Mateen, a lifelong resident of Starkville, Mississippi since July 3rd, 1952. I have witnessed many changes in our community, some good, and as a whole, lots of them bad. I want to do my part to encourage a major change in our community, primarily safety tips for and aerobic exercise for those persons afflicted with chronic illnesses, and especially those who are cancer survivors. I would like to propose that I be allowed to lease the late Bridget Moore's hairstyling salon as is, and pay for all the renovations and additions out of my own pocket. And I also purchase the necessary permits necessary to own and operate this business eventually. Finally, I want to include a kitchen to sell fish plates 6 days per week from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. All the other services must be conducted between 8 to 11 a.m. and 2 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Questions are answered. Questions and answers. Do you have any questions about what I want to propose? Anybody?
Which building exactly are you talking about?
Right down on South Washington, across from the jailhouse. The store, the bail bomb shop that goes down under the hill, the little shop there. It was a lady got murdered. She had a beauty salon there. I haven't been inside of it, but I've heard that it needs a lot of repair. I'll repair it if the city will lease it to me. I just want to do what I want to do.
And Mr. Mateen, while board members sometimes do make comments or ask questions during this period, it is typically reserved just for citizen comments.
Okay.
So if you.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mateen.
sir.
Do we have any further citizen comments?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board of Alderman. My name is Chris Taylor. Last year, I made a request to the board that you all look into changing the school board date, because they meet the first Tuesday just like you do. But it's not a state statute that theirs are the same date. Because right now, what's going on in the community is, seems like the people don't trust the school board. And you all appoint 4 of the 5. And I know right now they're getting ready to meet in 2 minutes, and I want to be there. So, if you can, honor my request to look into changing the date for the school board meeting, so you all can attend. Because you read the paper just like I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Do we have any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Board of Alderman and Mayor. I have a question concerning my Starkville Community Day event held on J.L. King Park on June 18th.
Yes, ma'am.
On 5C, it was an in-kind service and the funding request amount of $3,588, and I see that it was reduced down to $1,088. And for us to have a successful event, I was wondering, could you all give us more money for this event?
Well, what would, I guess to explain what that is you would still receive the in-kind services from the city, and that's the cost of those services, but would not receive a cash grant. Surmising why the board would make that decision is there is currently no funding that's budgeted for a cash grant for this event. At this state in the budgetary calendar, the only place the city could draw from to make that allocation is from the city's reserve fund. That would be a somewhat extraordinary maneuver, and I would surmise from the board putting it up on the consent agenda the way it is, that's one at this time that the board thinks is ill-advised. And I would concur. It's just, it's not something we typically do. In extraordinary occasions in the past, an event has made it into the annual budget for an outside contribution like that, but never at the end of a budgetary calendar like this is that something that funding would be provided for.
So you, once again, you are giving me requesting an in-kind service of amount of $1,088, correct?
Yeah, you'll get all of the city services to ensure that the event can happen, which is substantial, but there won't be a cash grant for the event.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, let's say one thing. Anita, basically what's happening here, we get a lot of requests for cash donations, Mr. Lindsay, and basically what we did tonight was basically consistent with what we've been doing. So with the in-kind services, we have police and fire and sanitation, and that dollar amount in-kind represents for their time. And, we get so many requests, and of course, personally, I sympathize with your request, but in all honesty and straight talk with you, we just get so many of these requests, and if we did this one, they'd be lined up to Main Street, and we get faced that area. I've seen it for 18 years now. So, but I support what you're doing. That's why I support the in-kind just like we did before. So I just want to make sure we understood that before you left.
I understand.
Okay, so this will be a good start and help you out, on it, and maybe we can grow with this each year. And we'll just, go through the pain and keep working at it and making a success and get some sponsors and, making it happen. So we're proud of you for your commitment and to make this a reality. But I want to commend you here and work hard with it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Do we have any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public presentations. And we have two scheduled public presentations for this evening. The first is from Freddie Raspberry for Habitat for Humanity. Mr. Raspberry, you'll have a maximum of 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and Board, for considering this matter. It won't take me very long. As you know, the qualified families in Habitat, they buy the homes that we build. They buy at approximately the cost of those homes. Anything that we can do to keep that cost down keeps their house payment down. And over the 8 years that I've been here, the city has granted free access to the landfill. We probably don't go out there over 12 or 15 times a year, but that is one more cost that saves us money, and that's passed along to the families. We become then the mortgage holder, and the family buys the home over a 20-year no interest, no loan grant. And so their payments are about $350 a month, and that includes their taxes and insurance. So I'm here to ask you to continue that, if you will, continue that free service as a support from the city to the Starkville area Habitat for Humanity.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Alderman Carver.
How many years out were you proposing for the continuation of?
I propose you do it forever, but I'll take 1 year at a time or whatever you think is appropriate. About 3 years.
We'll get into that when we consider on. One thing is you and I spoke today, and you do not have a marked vehicle. This is carried in by the volunteers, so it may be a different vehicle every time.
It could be. Usually, I would say over half the same person would take the trash out there. But occasionally, we do have, in this particular case that surfaced, we had some volunteers that were residents of Sturgis, and they had a big truck and was able to carry a lot of stuff out there. And when the Sturgis address surfaced, I think it just raised some red flags.
Yes. Okay.
Any further questions or comments from members of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I had intended for this to be on the consent. Marquis told me I overlooked it.
Oh,
I had
okay.
intended for it to be on the consent. When I saw him standing up, I was wondering. Marquis said I failed to put it on the consent, but nevertheless.
Okay. Alderman Parker.
Is there something we can also, because I think from the in-kind, we use the in-kind services from an advertising, is that how we're using that from? Is there something we can do to promote the fact that the city of Starkville is, that we can get something either on the website or maybe signs at the golf, or just
Sure.
For the functions y'all have?
We could do it as a whole sponsor, that's what you're talking about at the golf tournament, but we could also add it on our website to show that the city of Starkville is a sponsor.
Is a,
of Habitat.
you know,
You could do both.
Right.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's no problem.
Okay.
We'd be
I would
glad
just
to do
encourage,
that.
yeah, I would just encourage you to just, you know, let everybody know that we are participating in the, because it is a worthy cause.
It is, thank you very much.
Adam, have you heard me?
You may.
Just a point of clarification, guys. We had been traveling under the advertising statute for these in-kind services, and that was the statute that was listed in the packet. I've done research on that and came to the opinion that that statute just absolutely doesn't fit this particular request. However, another statute does, and it's 21-1965, and there's an AG's opinion on record from 2005 from the city of Starkville when Catherine Kirby was the city attorney. And she asked whether the landfill, whether the city can waive its tipping fees for the Boys and Girls Club because they're a social or community service program under 21-1965, which allows the city to expend funds or in-kind services for social and community service programs. And the AG took the opinion that it was a social and community service program. And so I would take the position that if the Boys and Girls Club are a social and community service program, Habitat for Humanity is too. And so if fees can be waived for the Boys and Girls Club, they can be waived for Habitat. But advertising is really the wrong statute to put this in-kind service under.
We can still get it, right?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve this request pursuant to section 21-19-65 of Mississippi Code 1972 as amended.
Alderman Perkins has made a motion to approve a request by Freddie Raspberry on behalf of Habitat for Humanity for in-kind services from the landfill division in accordance with the requirements of Mississippi Code 21-19-65. Alderman Perkins, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Corey has seconded the motion. Alderman Perkins, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Carver.
Does this carry through a certain calendar year? Did you have one in mind? Is this a one-year extension, or is
If you didn't put a date on it, it would just extend until the city took
Okay.
different action.
can I make one other comment?
You may.
You know, what we talked about today, maybe since y'all aren't marked vehicles going through there, is maybe coming up with some kind of, and I guess get with Ms. Boyd and find out maybe some kind of laminated piece of paper where if that individual's going to the dump, make sure you've got this green piece of paper and that explains why you're here, and you may have something with this tied to that, but kind of ease the process as y'all go through, and thank you for what you do.
We'll be glad to do that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Thank you,
Any
Ward
further
one.
discussion?
Tell Ward One, thank you. I was finna say the same thing.
Yeah. And we'll make sure we have a process to verify that it is Habitat for Humanity. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Perkins' motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Raspberry. And without objection, I'm going to modify the agenda to strike item 10B as it is now dilatory since that same matter just passed. Is there any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, item 10B has been removed from the agenda. All right, our next presentation was scheduled to be from Miss Anita Lindsay, and she's no longer with us, so I guess we won't have that public presentation. And that will take us to board business, and the first and only matter, not on the consent agenda, is a report from Budget Committee Chairperson Sandra Sistro.
The Budget Committee had a very brief meeting this past week where we talked about the upcoming budget calendar. The city clerk's office will be forwarding information to the department's heads in the next few days with requests for their upcoming fiscal year 12 budgets. At this point, the city clerk's office will begin to develop information about what our projected revenues will be for next year. The Budget Committee will come back together in early July and take a look at the requests we get as well as what those revenue projections are going to be. Working forward, there will probably be several meetings of the Budget Committee, input from various folk, public hearings in August once we have a budget that's finalized enough to accept public comments, and then a vote sometime in early to mid-September on the final budget for fiscal year 2012.
Questions, comments, discussion from the members of the board? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. The next matter on the agenda is the request for approval of the City of Starkville Fire Department claims docket.
Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself.
All right, we'll give Alderman Carver a moment to exit the room. Discussion. Alderman Vaughn.
So moved.
Alderman Vaughn has made a motion to approve of the City of Starkville Fire Department claims docket as of June 2nd, 2011. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
It's a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Could someone, we'll give Alderman Carver a moment to re-enter the room. The next matter on the agenda is a presentation by Ms. Sharon Boyd from the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department. Ms. Boyd?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Alderman. I won't take very long, since everything has been so graciously approved. I would like to go over with you on the Sanitation and Environmental Services work chart, their organizational chart that you have in the packet. I would like to start with the janitorial services, explaining why we need these positions. Janitorial services, whenever you have at the Sanitation and Environmental Services, Street Department, Auto Maintenance, whenever you have those type of departments where there's over 45 men and several females, you do need janitorial services, which we will try to provide through contract. Lead foreman, Mr. Calvin Ware, which is one of our best employees, one of the best employees that the city has within the city of Starkville. He will be the lead foreman over all of the divisions. We'll go now to landscaping. If you notice, I'm not taking up a lot of your time. We'll go to landscaping. The only change that we'll have is the promotion from crew leader 2 to crew leader 1, and the maintenance worker and operator. I'd like to elaborate on the landfill, on the landscaping. Landscaping, if you will look at the map that's inside your packet, there are 4 quadrants in there. Each quadrant is numbered. Each quadrant will, out of each month, will be 1 week in that quadrant, working on nothing but landscaping. All of landscaping will be in that quadrant. Whether it's weed eating, whether it's mowing, whether it's picking up litter, whatever needs to be done. We're very proud of that. We're beginning that already without the operator, without the tractor that we have not received yet. Once we get the tractor and the machine operator, then we will full speed ahead. Well, I'll move on now to landfill. Landfill, we're making some changes out of the landfill department. We're putting up new gates, new signs. We're adding new equipment as far as the scales go. I believe the scales out there have not worked for the past 5 years, if not more years. Therefore, we need those scales. We need those scales. We need the scales. We need the computer. We need the printer. In order that way we can maintain what we have and know exactly what's coming in and out of the landfill. I spoke with Mr. Don Posey, and he is yet to get back with me concerning the percentage that they're supposed to go in with the city to purchase these items. We also will be hiring a gatekeeper. We call it a gatekeeper, but it's be a scale operator who will be there, sitting there, taking care of each and every truck that goes in there and comes out. Even on Saturdays, they will alternate. I will have an operator and the The scale operator, they will alternate weekends, which is five hours per every week. But someone will be there, and we'll be changing the times on Saturday. It'll be from 8 until 1. Okay. All this will be going on the new website that Mr. Joel Clements will be preparing for us. We're going to recycling. Recycling will be continued the way it is going now. I'm proud to state that within the past 3 months, I know the last month it was 29.2 tons that we received. Within the last 3 months that we've signed the contract, we've gotten over, let's see, how much water is it in? Let's see. Beg pardon? I have it here. We're proud to announce that we have gone over the 35 tons per month, okay? And that is with some of the cities that I've known that have gone they have mandated recycling. They're only doing like 60%. So we're doing really, really well. Let's see. Next we'll go to the rubbish. If you've noticed, hopefully you have, we've gotten several compliments, several phone calls, several of the men and the employees have gotten compliments. The sanitation is continually doing what they do, and behind them is a rubbish truck. And they're not just picking up 20 yards, they're picking all of it up. With Ms. Sproul getting together with Ben and myself trying to reorganize the ordinance, we will have, for instance, we'll take one aspect of it. Instead of 7 feet long, it'll be 10 feet long, 8 inches in diameter. We'll be picking it up. When we look back behind us, those streets are clean. And people are very surprised about that, and they're very happy. Because all the sanitation and environmental services want is for the city of Starkville citizens to be happy and for it to be a very nice and clean place to live and visit. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments for Ms. Boyd? Any questions or comments?
I've got a question / comment. One is you're right about the accountability at the landfill, and I've taken things out there, and I recognize that you're going to have a return on investment, and I'm not saying this, but there are times when people dump trash and leave, and you never have a record of that. So I do commend you on this, having, I guess, a gatekeeper / scale operator. So the scale, are you going to keep the scale we have, or is there going to be an added figure to buy a new scale? Or?
At this particular time, I'm taking quotes not only on used scales, but on new scales also.
Okay.
Which one it would be more feasible? Mr. Joel Clements and I and one other person will be looking to see which one is best.
When somebody dumps now, is it done by the ton, or is it just a flat rate?
Just a flat rate.
Will you foresee yourself changing to a more rate structure based on tonnage?
Definitely. It will go by the computerized, whatever the ton, however many tons they have on there. We're gonna go by because now we're doing what a flat F10 flatbed truck.
Same price as a large truck?
Exactly. So we'll be going by the ton, which means we'll be bringing in more revenue.
Be more accurate also.
Exactly.
And just on the tractor purchase, did you have an estimated cost of what kind of tractor it is?
Yes. And this is this tractor is for landscaping. Okay.
So it's more like a bush hog and finishing mower?
Yes, it is. And I placed in there $130,000 for this tractor and bush hog, because we will be eventually needing an additional zero-turn lawnmower.
And that's what you budgeted. That's not a cost that we've incurred.
Exactly. That's something that we've already have out. The tractor that we will be replaces the 1981 Ford model. 1981. So, therefore, it's in need.
Thank you, Boyd.
Thank you very much, sir.
Any further questions or comments? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Porter. All right, that exhausts the open session portion of the agenda. We do have one potential matter for executive session that I would recommend a closed session for determination on whether there's a need to discuss it in the executive session. Motion's been made by Alderman Corey. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Corey, you wish to speak on the merits. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. We will now move into a closed session to determine whether there is a need to go into executive session, and we'll recess briefly as we allow a moment to clear the room.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.